I thought you were gonna have this trusting conversation with her that you promised me. Her and I both trusted you. For a grown man to violate a child who trusted him, you should be ashamed of yourself. You plotted on me and my little girl. The entire time you knew what you planned to do. Isolate, intoxicate, then violate my baby. Shame on you. I trusted you to bring her right back. You were supposed to bring her back the same way that you took her. Instead, you drugged her and took advantage of her. You sexually abused her. You forced alcohol down her throat. You then forced her to see things that no child should ever have to see. You forced her to feel things that no child should have to feel. You forced her to accept violence that no child should ever have to endure. You forced drugs in her that no human should ever even ingest. She's my child. My baby. How could you? How could you? You could have killed her with all the drugs that were found in her system.
Damn.
You thought your master plan was mapped out perfectly, huh? You thought I'd be dumb enough to believe you over my child. And you thought that money would blind me. You thought I was gonna be so blinded that I wouldn't notice when you returned her with bruises all over her body and her mouth busted, uncontrollably shaking. Absolutely not. And although you executed your plan and you got what you wanted those couple of hours, you actually failed. Because look where you're at right now. You have created a lifetime of trauma for my daughter and I. Before you, we never knew evil existed. You brought so much evil into our lives that early morning, and I'll never forget. I called you like 50 times and you wouldn't answer me. And I called her too, but you took her phone. You drugged my baby and you gave her no way to seek help. You left me no way to contact her or even know where she was. I get physically sick now whenever I'm away from my daughter because of you. Something as simple as her going to school, I'm in panic mode because I'm scared when she comes back, she's gonna be hurt all over again. I constantly have flashbacks of that night. And what she lives with is not okay. She feels uncomfortable around people and will live with this forever, and this is not fair to her. She never deserved this. Shame on you for forcing evil on our youth. And you know, for a year, I questioned, how could you even do this to us? Her and I did nothing wrong to you. We trusted you. I moved across the country because I believed everything that you told me. But it was pure manipulation I see now. All you do is specialize in selling false dreams. How could you do this to an innocent child and mother who simply trusted you? We did nothing wrong. But you know what? I'm done breaking my head trying to question or figure out how you could do such a thing. It's so simple to me now. You're just a sick man. A man you can have a plethora of women, but you secretly prefer to have a child. And it's so clear now. I will never be able to fully trust another person due to the betrayal that you've shown me. And for that, I was not willing to trust 6 strangers and go to trial. Nor was I going to put my daughter through an additional trauma. This plea was in our best interest. You and I both know the evidence is extremely substantial. But even with that, I refuse to have my child be tormented when she's done nothing wrong. All she holds is the truth. And I will say this, although you were so worried about being labeled a sex offender, you did us a huge favor by admitting to guilt, period. So for that, I thank you. I truly thank you. Yes, mitigation took place and I allowed it as long as it meant you going to prison and you getting true help. Because true help means no more victims. The fact that your only non-negotiable was to accept a sex crime shows exactly the type of man that you are. You know what you did in that hotel room. I know what you did, and my daughter knows what you did. DNA doesn't lie. There's no reason why your DNA should have been found on my baby. And yes, I satisfied your bogus request to not be labeled a sex offender, but it doesn't take away from who you truly are. I wasn't going to waste any time going back and forth with you over a label. God will judge you for exactly the person he knows you to be, a sexual predator. So rest assured, jail time equals jail time. And I pray that during your 10 years of sex offender probation, you actually receive the treatment that you need, and it helps heal your sick mind and get the thoughts of being with children out of it. All you care about is your pretend image, but I know exactly who you are now. You want to be this public figure, but you want to do all your evil acts in secret. You're so self-centered. That's why the last time I saw you on February 27, 2021, you fought me. You tried to hold me hostage from taking my daughter to the hospital. I'll never forget that cowardly look in your eyes. I'll never forget it. You were so scared. You were so scared because you realized you messed with the wrong one. Your last words to me, you held me and said, please don't go. You're going to ruin my career. Well, today, September 6th, 2023, my last words to you are, I hope the next 17 years of your life, you're reminded of the disgusting, terrifying, unforgettable act that you've done to my innocent daughter. Shame on you. And although you've caused a tremendous amount of trauma for myself and my daughter, we will and will always be superior of you, because a successful, honest career is something that you can never, ever have. We will both continue to stand against violence. My daughter will continue to persevere and be bright and intelligent and courageous young woman that she is. So Michael Nowak, I hope you enjoy prison, and God bless you.
I had to pause for a minute. Jesus. Can we just take a moment here and honor this mother for a moment? Not once did she bend to Michael Nowak's will. Not once. Not once. That woman has stuck. She stuck to it ever since it happened. So Mr. Brother Polight here will be, he's already in jail. He's going to go do his 7 years in prison. He then has 10 years of probation following that, which is probably going to be pretty difficult for him to do, I would think. They say probation's harder to do than parole. That's what they say. Just going back to the mother, not once has she ever compromised when it came to this. Shout out to her. I know that today could not have been an easy day for her. This plea agreement, hey, King Curl, this plea agreement was the mother, the victim, the mother and the victim aware of this plea agreement, and she agreed to certain things. I will leave it to her to answer as to why the one thing, here's the one thing. He will not be a convicted sex offender. Now, there may be some details behind that some of us are not privy to, but she did agree to that. I don't think, Polight was really in a position that, that was a request, in my opinion, at the end of the day. What was he going to do? Go to trial? Again, the evidence is so substantial here. Remember Monica, the dress and the DNA, very similar here. All right. Polight had no business taking that young girl to no damn hotel room. No business at all. Acted, like a straight predator that night. And so one must wonder, is there any other victims?
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your courage for speaking. It is heartbreaking, and my heart goes out to you and your daughter. All right. The defendant will be remanded to the Department of Corrections.
CPS.
He's given credit for any.
I'll be honest.
We can do CTS on the misdemeanor.
I'll be honest. I probably would not have honored that request. But again, we just don't know what other details go under that. I don't know. I personally would not have honored it. That probably would have been the one thing I would have wanted more than anything, was him to be a registered sex offender. It makes life very difficult for them. Registered sex offenders. I'm speaking when I talk about them. Yeah, it makes life difficult. Addresses are plastered all over the place. All sorts of stuff goes on in those types of scenarios. But at the end of the day, that statement just breaks my heart to hear it. It really, really does.
He's giving credit
Think
time,
about this
whatever
little
he's
girl.
gotten in. Yes, yes. All right. Thank you.
And that's the thing. That's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I almost want to drop the link, and I usually don't ever drop the links. But that's the other thing too, right? Can Polight now be sued? Can he be found civil in regards to a civil lawsuit? Could he potentially face civil litigation at this point? And I think you have a valid point, Miss B. Does that leave a door open? Is any doors being left open here, or is justice served? Hey, TMK. He wanted that because he understands that no one can call him a pedophile. But we can. And that was the first thing that hit my mind, Freedom's March, when I heard that aspect of it, right? That he won't be a registered sex offender. Just because he's a registered sex offender, that does not take away from the fact that Michael Nowak is a convicted rapist as of today. This is a deferred adjudication. He didn't plead guilty, but he didn't plead not guilty either. He went in between. He pled. This is a plea bargain. Michael Nowak is facing decades in prison. You heard the judge, 61 years with all the counts. Okay. Now, if he doesn't successfully complete his requirements, he could be later faced to this prison time. So, but I think that you lay out a very valid point. Michael Nowak may think that nobody can refer to him as a rapist and a pedophile and a predator. But truth be told, what's he going to do? Is he going to sue me? Oh, sue me. Do you know what that would mean for him, though, from a civil's perspective? He's going to have to be deposed. He's going to have to speak to some things. Meaning he's going to have to open up his life. And here's the problem with civil litigation. You can go a lot further than you can in a criminal case. A lot of evidence that may be thrown out in a criminal case, not necessarily in a civil case. It's a whole nother process. So it's just strange to me to be, convicted of a sexual offense, but yet not get the sex offender label with it. So I'm looking forward to other people's commentary on the matter, because maybe a lawyer out here, I don't know, maybe there's a lawyer out here that can speak to the granularity of that, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, ultimately, I don't see how Polight would have had a choice at the end of the day. The evidence against him was very damning, very, very damning. So I don't know why. I would have not appeased him with that request. Let's finish listening.
Oh.
Alvin?
Anything else?
Huh?
Okay. I got 1,000 people.
All right. So yeah, I think that's it. I mean, that's pretty much the meat of it, right? That's pretty much the meat of it. I'm curious if there's any other victims. Someone who, was this Polight's first time doing this, essentially? I don't believe so. But that's my personal belief. See, that's the other scary thing. The longer that this case hangs out there, the longer that it hangs around, the more likely someone is to come forward with additional accusations. And depending on how long ago incidents may have happened, may, render whether or not he would be charged with a crime. It's all about statute of limitations, that sort of a thing. But the comfortability that he was so comfortable to take that young girl, that young lady, to that hotel room to do what he did. I don't get it. I don't get it. And doesn't that King Curl sort of make it even creepier? The fact that he had such a very strange fascination, has a strange fascination with Dr. York. Oh, claiming that he had met the man or talked to the man at one point, come to find out he never knew the man. Getting all good trying to get all in good with the son. Just weird stuff. Just really, really weird. Went on this crusade. Shout out to Queen's Throne. Shout out to Queen's Throne. She's been covering this. A lot of my information and knowledge comes from watching her videos on this, and just seeing all these various different live streams Polight's done over the years. I thought that Queen's revisit and running a lot of different content, it helped me to become a lot more knowledgeable in certain things when it comes to Polight and everything Polight. What will the supporters say now? What are the reporters or these supporters of Brother Polight going to say now? More than anything, this is not a situation in which he was found guilty. He pled. He is acknowledging there is more than enough evidence to put him away for decades, the rest of his life. He's acknowledging that with his plea. An innocent man would not be pleading down. And you have to wonder, if one wants to stay publicly close to Polight, I mean, at some point, this man raped that young lady. He plied her with substances to intoxicate her. He did that shit. And today he pled to it. He acknowledged there's more than enough evidence to put him in prison. He pled to 7 years in prison. Hello. Who pleads 7 years. Polight has resources. Polight has tons of resources that he could utilize if he wanted. It would have just been a spectacle to take something like this to trial. Just would have became a spectacle, in my opinion. But who pleads down to child abuse, sexually assaulting a child? Content creators out here, you better be careful what you do, what you share, all that type of stuff. Got to be careful at the end of the day. Who knows? Yeah, Nicole. Shout out to Nicole Reloaded. Listen, shout out to the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Gloria. Shout out to Third Eye, my moderators, T Breeze, Princess X. Shout out to Miss B. Everybody, Bronze. Who else is up in here? Foxy Brown, Khalil Amani's World. Shout out to Khalil Amani. Who else do we got up in here? King Curl, Freedom's March, TMK Media, Crimes and Investigations. Of course, we have our Leak You Facebook channel and our Leak You Twitch channel. I see you all plugged in. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. If I did, it wasn't intentional. What's up with it, John AK? Much love, Nicole Reloaded. I hope your legs are working okay today. I hope you got your sea legs about you. Because we all need a leg. We all need legs. York is a sicko, and we deal with some of his clown followers daily on Clubhouse. Appreciate that, King Carl. Let's see here. People had not been sending him money to pay for his lawyer. He probably would have got more than 7 years. Speak on it. Polight has plenty of resources. That's no issue. So what is he doing pleading down? If there's not some truth to it. Ask yourselves, why is his semen on that girl's clothing? Why was his DNA on that girl in any form or fashion? And then just imagine yourselves, just one moment, building up a rapport or a relationship with someone who's only getting close to you because they're eyeing your little child. A lot of you content creators really should put yourselves in that position. You think that if you got all friendly with Polight and introduced him to your family, you don't think that Polight is thinking about banging your little daughter? Because that's pretty much what he proved here, that he takes advantage of people for his sexual needs. That's what he did to this mother. She sounded heartbroken listening to her. Again, I don't understand all of the reasoning as to why he is not considered a sex offender and what went into that. And I know that the mother said that she honored that request, I believe, to avoid continued a trial, basically. continuing this charade. And I wouldn't even call it a charade. My words, I need to use the proper words. It's not a charade. The spectacle to continue on. Or is it that Polight, some may not want to say it. I'm going to say it. Did Polight plead down because he knew he could be sitting in prison for 60 years versus the 7 that he got today? That's another reason. The evidence is so overwhelming. It is so overwhelming. Before we get up out of here, guys, let me pay a few bills if you don't mind. Shout out to the Leak U community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
Looks like you lost another one.
Hold on, my baby's coming up. My baby's here. Is that you?
Yes, it's me, sis. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, I can. How are you, Miss Nicole Reloaded?
Thank you for having my sister, and thank you for the awesome coverage. I was actually watching my grandbaby and testing for school when you popped up in my feed, and I had to stop to listen to what was going on with this. I knew that this piece of dog doo-doo was going to plead out. I'm in a way, I'm glad for that. This man has a lot of connections, throughout the United States. I actually interviewed one of alleged victims of what's his name? Gosh. Yes, York. Yes, thank you for helping me out. York's daughter-in-law. And she gave me a lot of information. And when I interviewed her, she actually was attacked several times. So I can only imagine, imagine and fathom what this mother and this baby has experienced the last 2 years. She probably just wanted it over with.
What did you think about her statement to the court, Nicole? That was heart-wrenching, wasn't it?
Shaken. Yeah. That's why it took me so long to get up here. I was like, I can't even gather my wits about myself. I have 4 daughters and a grandbaby and a grandson, and we as women need to stop letting our kids, man, go with these niggas.
Sorry, you went on mute, Nicole.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
What I was trying to say, Leak You, is that us as women need to stop, especially in the Black culture, allowing our children to go with men that are not biologically the fathers of our children, let alone when the fathers are abusers too, as well. So we need to be very, 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 very protective of our children's innocence. Once it's gone, there's nothing you can do to ever get that back. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you. I'm curious what your thoughts are on him not having to register as a sex offender.
You know what? I am
weird to me.
Baffled, girl. I am baffled, but she said she did that for him. You got to break that your audio down and transcribe transcribe it, sis. It sounded like she said that she did that for him in a way. Maybe that was a part of the plea.
Yeah, and you know,
Maybe there would
yeah.
have been no plea. Maybe there would have been no plea without that.
Well, she said if it
I,
meant that he went to prison too.
Yes, She could have, if she wanted to. She didn't have to accept the plea. Usually, the state goes through, through the family and will say, "No, want to fight." There was enough significant evidence, especially with the DNA on that baby and on his clothes and the area of his clothes and on her, that would have locked this man away for a long time. I am very baffled